Hey guys, SGT here. First of all, the Rob Kirby interview could be broken into two separate sections. The first half or more is talking about the Department of Justice and Clinton's crimes. So if you're bored of that already, fast forward to the second half where we talk about the blatant manipulation and the end of the manipulation of precious metals as physical moves from west to east. Thanks for listening. Here's Rob Kirby. Rob, you know what people love about you?
What's that, Sean?
Everything. Constantly, people are like, when are you going to get Rob back on?
Pleasure to be with you again.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you. Hey, I want to get your impressions on, so you're up in Canada. I want to get your impressions on what you see unfolding down here. And I want to play some of these sound bites from James Comey the other day because I did a video right after this announcement came out. The video is called Clinton and the Lawless Oligarchy because I, like so many other Americans, was absolutely outraged by the FBI director coming out in that unprecedented statement to basically say, we're not going to go after Hillary, so I don't know why the DOJ would.
I can't begin to believe the insanity of this and the insult. How long would our founding fathers have tolerated this?
And guess what? The very next day, to pour salt in that open wound, the DOJ came out and said, yeah, she's off the hook. What'd you make of it?
I feel shame for my American friends with the developments that have occurred, and it doesn't deter me from wearing my Hillary for Prison T-shirt 2016. I still wear it proudly.
Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to wear it probably for the next 4.5 years because I think in about a few months she's probably going to be in the White House, and then we're going to have to suffer through this for another 4 years. And it's all just a little bit too much for people to handle at this point because the criminality, the lawlessness is so overt, okay? Because let's just listen to some of this James Comey announcement from the other day. Because as you and I and the listeners know, it is a felony to mishandle classified material either knowingly or in a grossly negligent way. And apparently she gets off because they're saying she didn't have intent. I didn't know intent could protect you from prosecution. Let's listen to some of this and let's dissect it.
Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department. And she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Could you hear that, Rob?
Oh, yeah, I heard it.
Okay, so she didn't just use one private server in Chappaqua. She had several different private servers, and she was sharing, reading, and disseminating this classified material via handheld devices, mobile devices.
It goes further than that, Sean. She also instructed her employees to cut headers off of classified emails to remove the headers that said top secret and secret.
That's right.
What she did was so egregious. What she did really amounts to espionage. What she did amounts to, it's treasonous what she did.
Yes, it is absolute treason. And that's why the American people, at least those that are paying attention and who are intellectually honest, are absolutely outraged. Because if the law doesn't apply to Hillary Clinton, then why should it apply to anybody else?
I mean, she gets away scot-free. Seriously? Then we can go out and do whatever we want, and we don't have to listen to the laws of the land anymore? Is that what's happening here?
All right, now I'm going to fast forward to this spot where he claims 110 emails contain classified information. All right. By the way, what you just said speaks to her intent. I mean, if she's going to instruct her underlings to change headers and delete the word classified, that speaks exactly to intent, which is apparently how he let her go because he said they could find no intent. All right, let's listen to this one.
From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
So, Rob, there's some information there that I want to dissect as well. He says of the 30,000 emails returned to the State Department, we already know that not all of the emails got returned. I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 emails unaccounted for. What's your take on that? He says 110 emails of the 30,000 that Clinton returned to the State Department, 110 contained classified info. I think it's far more than that.
Yeah, no, but we don't know. We don't know what was the contents of the thousands upon thousands that weren't returned. We don't. We have no idea what the content of those emails were. And anyway, you know the whole thing, Sean, just reeks of. I mean, it reeks of the notion that the Clintons are above the law.
They absolutely are. And now here's where he says she didn't have intent. Listen to this.
Although we don't have complete visibility because we're not able to fully reconstruct the electronic record of that sorting, we believe our investigation has been sufficient to give us reasonable confidence there was no intentional misconduct in connection with that sorting effort.
Sean, I want to repeat something that I heard yesterday when I was listening to the Alex Jones show. And Alex Jones had a segment where he interviewed Larry Nichols, who's a consummate Clinton insider, who's done much to out the ill doings of the Clintons over the years, has written books on them. And Larry Nichols was making the claim that the two FBI investigators that were investigating Hillary Clinton's email fiasco, one of them, he claims one of them was a pedophile and the other one was openly homosexual. And he was positing that this might have had something to do with the lack of findings or lack of willingness to prosecute or to recommend prosecution or indictment of Hillary. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that Larry Nichols certainly knows what's going on inside the Clinton camp.
Yeah, well, top-down corruption, I mean, that's really the name of the game in Washington at this point. If the people at the very top of the food chain, at the top of the government, Obama and Loretta Lynch, don't have to follow the law, then why should anybody else? Anyway, we're all just now having to grapple with the fact that we live in a banana republic. It's no longer a republic. It's a country run by and for oligarchs. And here is the dramatic conclusion of James Comey's unprecedented press conference in which he said,
although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before deciding whether to bring charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. In looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts. All the cases prosecuted involved some combination of clearly intentional and willful mishandling of classified information or vast quantities of information exposed in such a way as to support an inference of intentional misconduct or indications of disloyalty to the United States or efforts to obstruct justice. We do not see those things here.
is there really truly anybody out there on planet Earth that would believe for 1 second that Hillary didn't have the intent to do what she did? But that's what he says. They're letting her off because there was no intent. This happened on July 5th, Rob. Comey comes out on July 5th, the day after our supposed Independence Day, and makes this unprecedented announcement. 24 hours later, Loretta Lynch comes out and says, closing the file. She's off the hook.
Utterly pathetic.
So what are we going to do about it?
What can we do about it? Vote Trump this fall.
Well, I guess as we document the collapse, Rob, it's important to document the collapse from the top down. We talk about the banksters, usually. We talk about the corruption at the COMEX and the LBMA and the fractional reserve banking and the corruption on Wall Street. But really, publicly facing, the most important corruption to talk about is the corruption within our own government. And again, it's top-down corruption. I'm not sure how we take this thing back at this point, Rob, short of state secession or a military coup. I'm not sure how we take this thing back from these tyrants.
Well, my retort to that, Sean, is Donald Trump capable of cleaning this up?
Well, we do know what we will get if Hillary Clinton ends up back in the White House. I got an email this morning from Richard, who notes that Comey and Lynch didn't really want to join this list, and he recounts this list, the Clinton death list. James McDougal, Clinton's convicted Whitewater partner, died of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. Mary Mahoney, Vince Foster, Ron Brown, C. Vister Razor II and Montgomery Razor, Paul Taylor, Ed Wiley, Jerry Parks. You know, the list is long. Many of these people shot or decapitated, and then the coroner ruled it a suicide or death by natural causes. This is the Clinton body count, and it's a very, very long list, Rob.
I'm well aware of it.
All right, well, let's talk silver. Let's talk corruption over there on the LBMA. What do you make of what's going on in the precious metals space? I could read a couple of things to you from David Jensen, who writes for safehaven.com. He just wrote a piece called The Detonation of the LBMA. Do you want to talk about the corruption in the precious metals markets now?
Absolutely.
All right. You know, Rob, I haven't talked to you, I don't think, since silver was still back down around $14, $15 an ounce. Maybe it was even $13 the last time we spoke. Are you surprised to have seen silver rocket higher this quickly?
No, what has portended the rapid rise in the silver price has been the eye-watering build in open interest, and to see open interest at the levels it is, unprecedented historic highs of open interest in the silver futures contracts, tells us there should be more fireworks coming in the very, very near future in both gold and silver. I mean, the amount of paper shorting that's been done by officialdom, selling contracts for which the metal to back them does not exist, is amazing, unprecedented, and unsustainable. Because what is occurring, what we're watching, is that the officialdom is basically making their own markets. They're making a mockery of their own markets, and what they're doing is they're showing everybody in the world that has their head out of the sand. They're showing them that the paper markets are fraudulent, and that there is no price discovery. And what that's doing is hastening the demand and the want for the real thing.
Yeah, the emperor has no clothes, and the whole world can see it. The Chinese can see it. I think there's been some epic banker raids happening over the past week or two, and every single evening on Globex, and then the next day silver seems to bounce right back. I think that the powers that be, the cartel, are starting to lose some of their magic manipulative powers, Rob, and I just want to read this paragraph to you from Detonation of the LBMA from my friend David Jensen. I just mentioned that earlier. Listen to this paragraph. He writes, by facilitating unsecured or unbacked paper gold and silver spot ownership contracts that are held by a host of private, corporate, financial, and sovereign wealth fund interests, paper claims for ownership of an estimated 400 million to 600 million ounces of gold and 4 to 6 billion ounces of silver have been created through the LBMA. These spot metal contract holders deflected into holding paper promises for metal instead of metal itself hide true metal demand, with the result that the real price discovery is thwarted and precious metal prices are held at artificially low levels. We're seeing those artificially low price levels start to go into a very severe uptrend, Rob. And when he says 4 to 6 billion ounces of silver, paper silver, have been created through the LBMA, let's just dissect that a little bit. We need to remind folks that there's only 800 million ounces of physical silver mined each year. So what is that? That's what, 6, 7, 8 times the annual global production of physical silver? That's just the paper they've created over at the LBMA? And I wonder if it's not even a far higher number than that.
It could very well be a higher number than that, Sean. But the one thing that is a game changer, and the reason I think that we've seen this dramatic rise recently in the price, silver in particular, is that this year China has become a major buyer/hoarder of silver, and they are not interested in buying the paper contracts. They want the real thing. So it's, the whole battle over precious metals price suppression over the years has been a war that's been going on between physical and paper. And ultimately, it's long been maintained by like the folks at GATA that once physical demand ratcheted up to a sufficient level, the suppression game would fail, and they speak in terms of a commercial signal failure, where basically where these exchanges will ultimately be forced to declare force majeure and settle people in fiat money. And when that occurs, which I believe it will, then it's Katie bar the doors time, because the price of these things, precious metals ultimately are going to end up being cash and carry. And because the futures markets will be discredited to the point where people, just won't put their money there. And then we're going to see a real market for physical precious metal coming to a theater near you very soon.
Yeah, I think we've heard Goldcore report, Marco Byrne over there at Goldcore report, that there is panic at the bullion banks because of the lack of physical. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've been hearing that in numerous directions.
As you've rightly noted, Rob, China is hoarding the physical. So that's the game changer. China is the absolute game changer. And our friend David Jensen notes that estimated leverage at the LBMA for spot metals claims versus the amount of metal available for delivery range from 100 to 1, and higher for gold and much higher for silver. And the Chinese are breaking the back of the Ponzi by saying, give us the physical.
Absolutely. It's occurring. It's occurring right in front of our eyes. But of course, it's not reported in our mainstream press at all.
No, it's not, and that's why people turn to the alt media. Let me ask you something else here. Let's talk about Deutsche Bank, the derivatives Ponzi. Bix Weir just sent out a message the other day to his email list saying that as soon as Deutsche Bank falls into the single digits, it's going to be Katie bar the door. How close do you think we are to this derivatives Ponzi collapsing?
That's a tough one to answer. I don't think derivatives are going away. I think derivatives are here to stay, at least while there's still a semblance of what our financial system currently is. And if the derivatives market really blows up, it's the end of the financial system as we know it. I just don't think we're quite ready for that yet. And as for Deutsche Bank, I don't really see Deutsche Bank really as being any different than American banks. It's just that Deutsche Bank answers to regulators that actually regulate, as in BaFin in Germany, who ultimately is who Deutsche Bank answers to. Whereas Morgan Stanley, J.P. Morgan, Citi, B of A, and Goldman Sachs, they answer to the crooked Federal Reserve and the and U.S. regulators who are known to have given passes to financial institutions, meaning they don't have to report their true financial condition. That law has been on the books in America since 1934, where publicly traded institutions in America can be given a pass and excused from accounting if it's in the interests of national security.
Yeah, well, now let's segue over to Brexit. I want to say one thing here and get your impression. I just discovered the other day that Lord Rothschild wrote an open op-ed, and I believe it appeared in the Telegraph, and he wrote this op-ed in mid-June, and his position was it would be foolish to leave the EU because we don't want to diminish our role on the world stage. And he was admonishing people who wanted to leave the EU, and he was trying to rally support for staying in the EU. And I think it speaks directly to the loss of control of the City of London over this once absolutely impenetrably powerful world global fiat system they'd built, the central banks owned by the Rothschilds. Are they losing control? Because it seems to me if Lord Rothschild would write that op-ed and then Brexit passed, there must be some panic in the City of London. Harley Schlanger claims there is.
Well, I mean, I was just noticing this morning that JP Morgan is threatening that they might be moving thousands of jobs out of the city of London.
Yeah.
But then the other half of me says, Sean, that for Rothschild to make such a statement, Rothschild is the Queen's primary financial advisor, and it's my understanding that the Queen herself was quite on side with the Leave camp.
Yeah.
So there seems to be maybe even a little bit of dissension or infighting within the powers that be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, Rob. I mean, I hope that's the case. I hope that these rats turn on each other. I think that is what's happening, especially as big giant hedge funds and insiders start to realize all these paper claims they hold are going to be worthless before long, and they need to get the physical precious metal. That's just one example of the rats turning on each other. Well, Rob, your final thoughts. Why don't you leave us with a final few words?
I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how bloodied Hillary Clinton gets when she starts doing debates with Donald Trump this fall. I look forward to that. And it'll be interesting to see if Hillary Clinton can run the gauntlet of a season of debates with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a brawler, and he'll have his gloves off. And all the improprieties of the Clintons is going to be front and center during the debates.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to monitor it, too, and we're going to report on it. And I'm going to try to call the mainstream Mockingbird media out, because you know how this is going to go. They're going to have their kit gloves on as it pertains to Hillary, and they're going to try to pull out the daggers as it pertains to Trump. That's what they do. That's what they were doing yesterday on CNN as I was watching and monitoring Trump's reaction to the Loretta Lynch announcement that Hillary was off the hook. He's outraged, just like most of the American people who are paying attention are outraged. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. And Rob, thanks so much for your support. Why don't you shout out your website so people can come visit you there?
Yep. You can catch me on the web at kirbyanalytics.com.
All right. Our guest has been Rob Kirby. Rob, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. If you like this video, hit like, and visit us over at sgtreport.com for the very latest news and information. We have some really great interviews coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. Please keep checking back. We try to release 2 to 3 great interviews a week and sometimes additional content. Thanks so much for your support. God bless.